we're not going to keep doing this. He just took off. I think he was so stressed with this rental that he's like, I'm out of here. This is too much. And Sans kept running after his car. It was hilarious to see.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And of course, they add on top of it, as I was talking to these guys, my horn just starts going, and then I look and Ryder's just standing on the
Oh
horn.
my God.
That dog.
He's like, you're taking way too long. Come back.
I was like, that probably didn't help the stress level of the dad either.
It was a classic scene, though, you know.
You have tuned in to Remote Trails Radio, where your hosts, Garrick and Melody, take you off the beaten path into the world of overlanding, life in the Pacific Northwest, and whatever the heck else we feel like chatting about. So grab a drink, settle in, and let's hit the trails together.
Welcome, and thanks everyone for joining us today on Remote Trails Radio. I'm Melody.
And I'm Garrick.
We have a very special guest today. Welcome, Demetre.
Thanks for having me, guys. Welcome.
Welcome.
Is it okay to reintroduce yourself to those who haven't heard you on the earlier episodes?
Sure, happy to. My name is Demetre. Based out of Seattle, fellow off-road / explorer. I have 2 vehicles right now, both Land Rovers. It's kind of a rule. You have to have 2 when one breaks down.
I was going to say. Glad you said it, not me.
Yeah, it's true. And yeah, I explore Pacific Northwest and all the surrounding states with my 2 Land Rovers. Whichever one's working, I take them out. And yeah, I like to see cool places. Mountains, definitely a favorite. And then occasionally I do like to hit some hard trails as well, which I do on the weekends, but sometimes on weekdays as well, as my job, thankfully, involves being in off-road industry and being involved with that world and hitting some trails every now and then.
Nice. Yeah, you have
Sounds
the coolest
tough.
job. I mean, you get to drive Toyotas now too, which is
I know.
really makes us really happy.
I know at ARB we are pretty Toyota centric right now. We don't really make much products for Land Rovers, but I can't complain. It is a cool job. It's a good amount of work, but we do get the chance to drive a lot of cool vehicles in cool locations. So that's always fun.
That's awesome. Okay, today we have a rather large episode, and we're mostly talking about your Capitol Reef trip in Utah. You guys took a week or 10 days and went down there and explored. We're going to be talking about gas rations, people of the trail that you met, and people of the campsites, fortunately or unfortunately, that you met. Where rental vehicles go, like this is one was shocking for me. Crashing a drone, my gosh. Exploring Moab. Hygiene in the desert.
Yep.
That's a good one. And then a little bit about cooking. And just in the beginning of the episode, we're going to talk about ARB compressors for a second, because that's what's on my mind, selfishly.
Got the expert. Yeah.
You got the expert here. Okay.
Sweet. Well, let's get into it.
So I think we have some updates from previous episodes. Do you have anything, Garrick?
Yeah, this is one of the oldest going back updates I probably think we've ever had. I'm going all the way to episode 11. Also, by the way, I have a guest dog here, so you might hear dog sounds the entire episode. So apologies for that. But anyways, going back to episode 11, Melody and I had talked about a overlanding themed video game that was in production and was going to go up on the Steam at some point later. I think they had said end of 2025. It is mid 2026 now, but they now have released a demo, and I've actually played the demo a little bit, and it's pretty fun. It's definitely, it kind of tricks you because you feel like all casual, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm just kind of bumbling around, whatever, I'm just driving, but then like you'll come across a tough spot and then you'll just crash and die.
It escalates quickly.
Well, yeah. I was doing this challenge course that they had, and I was like, this isn't a challenge. And then I accidentally put my tire in the wrong spot, and then suddenly I went tumbling down a cliff. I was like, okay, I guess we have to be a little bit more serious about this. Or there's one where I was like crossing a bridge, and again, I just wasn't washing my tires, and then my tire went into the water, and it killed my engine. And then I was like, okay, I guess I'm done there. So it actually took me 3 attempts to get to this challenge course. So it's actually pretty legit.
What platform
I'm
is it
excited
on?
to play this game.
It's on Steam, so it is Windows only right now. Although I was playing on my Steam Deck, which is Steam Deck, it technically runs Linux, I guess. I can also run it on my MacBook, though, through the GeForce Now service. So GeForce Now service is you pay a subscription and then basically you have a virtual computer that you can play on. You can basically play it on anything with a web browser.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm not a big video gamer, but hey, off-roading games. So what was the name of it? Snow Runner or Mud Runner? That
Well, this one's called Over the Hill.
Over the Hill.
Here's another game though that's also kind of themed with overlanding. You'd mentioned Mud Runner and Snow Runner. Those are kind of like that. They're very off-roady.
Mhm.
They have a new version called Expeditions that has a little bit more of a overlandy vibe where they kind of have to get your load out right, and then you have to go out and scout and stuff like that. So I haven't played that, but I have just heard about that too. So that's another one if you're in the video gaming mood.
Yeah, good to see overlanding field getting some video games. It's
yeah, for real.
Right about time.
Absolutely.
You can practice in my off time.
Yeah, sharpen your skills, Melody, for next time.
Get that driver bond. Yeah.
It'd be nice having all the cameras that you have for the game in real life.
Right.
But I think Doug kind of has that with his 360 cam view on his truck. But
technology.
Yeah, that is next level.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have an update from episode 44. A quick one is that I was complaining about micro USB, but that is solved because on Amazon, they have these really tiny micro USB to USB-C adapters. And so I've just bought a bunch of those and then I'm putting them in all the appliances that still have that older technology for charging left. So now I can switch. Now I'm USB-C only. Woohoo.
Nice. Nice.
Cool. I also have a quick one. This is from episode 43. Melody and I were talking about radios and GMRS and how the legal way to do it with the Baofeng specifically was to get your GMRS license. Well, that's not true. That's also illegal.
Oh, man.
Wait, that's also illegal?
Can't win.
That's totally legal. Yeah. So it turns out with the GMRS frequencies, you can only use a device that is specifically specified to be allowed to operate on those frequencies. So it has to be an FRS or GMRS device. So these ham radios that are what the Baofengs are essentially are not in compliance with those frequencies. You can set them to those frequencies, you can use them, but it doesn't matter if you have a GMRS license, doesn't matter if you have a ham license, you're still illegal at that point.
Ham.
Oh, even with a ham license?
Even with the ham license, yeah, you still can't. You have to have a GMRS or FRS device to be operating on those frequencies if you want to be legal.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, why can't they make them affordable then? Right?
Yeah,
that's the whole point of Baofeng. Baofeng's like $25.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very bad with following all the regulations with that. It's just so many acronyms and names and everything. This type of certificate are only on this type of frequencies. I don't know. It's one of those things. There's the whole thing.
Melody and I like to have this running joke that we need to have corrections episodes after every episode.
When you say something wrong or give wrong advice.
Yeah. We're like, do this. And then we're like, no, don't do that.
So this correction comes thanks to Alex from Botches Off-Road. Also, Alex said that he missed random recommendations. I don't know if I'm going to say happy to do that, but I'm glad somebody appreciated it.
Well, you had a random recommendation last time, so I think you missed it too, Garrick.
That's true.
Nice. Well,
cool.
Since Demetre is our special guest and we have a lot to get through, I do have one quick question that I'd like to ask before we get into it, and it's about ARB, your work. Is it okay, Demetre, if I can ask that?
Of course.
Okay, great. It's going to be really dusty this summer, and I'm looking into, can the ARB twin compressor, the regular one, not the brushless one, can it handle becoming a dust blower as well as filling my tires?
The portable one can, yes.
Okay.
The portable one, because it has the air tank included, it builds pressure in the air tank first, builds the volume of air. So that's when you can actually use it for a lot of different things. You can run some small to medium-sized air tools from it. You could use it as a air gun, kind of an air blower. It has a lot of other uses because of that extra capacity in the tank.
Okay, got it. Is it a pretty large air tank?
Yeah, it is a large one. It's a 3-gallon tank, but this design of it is in this suitcase. It looks kind of like it's smaller than a carry-on suitcase, but it's neatly tucked in there. I like the fact that it's square, so it doesn't take up too much space. You can pack it really well. And because I have a couple of vehicles, it's super easy to move it around between vehicles. So oftentimes people who want a multi-tool version of the compressor, I always recommend the portable one because you can just take it with you and use it as kind of a Swiss Army knife.
Nice. That's the way to go,
Yeah.
Garrick. You have one of those, right?
Yeah, I got it this season, and I was pleased to find out that not only can you do that, but it actually even comes with a little air blower
Yep.
tools. You don't even have to go buy one; it's already in the box. Yeah.
Oh, well,
I
that's
will
nice.
recommend not carrying it 7 blocks to a bus stop, though.
Why?
When I bought it, and I had been using public transportation prior to that day, so I was like, "Oh, I can just hop off at this light rail stop, pick it up, and then go back." Well, I forgot that it was like 30 pounds.
That thing's
So
heavy.
I
Oh my
had to
gosh.
lug
It
this
is
30
pretty
pound
heavy.
case or blocks.
So which one do you have, Garrick?
I have the non-brushless double in portable version.
Okay. Is there any name for that?
There's a part number, but it's
Oh, it's just a
portable.
part.
Portable twin is what we call it, and then if it's a
Okay.
brushless version, then we call it portable brushless twin. I have the
Got
same
it.
one too. It's obviously the brushless portable is better and faster and more modern, but I have the same one and it works like a charm.
I had a little bit of learning to do with that particular compressor on our Utah trip.
Okay.
I had been using my Indeflate dual hose system, which I've had for years, and I'd hooked up the dual compressor to it, and I was not really impressed with the speed of filling it up. And I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on with this. And then I used it once before the Utah trip, but then with Demetre, who has exact same compressor and similar sized tires as me, Demetre was like filling up his tires way faster than me, and I was like starting before him, and I was like, "What is going on here?"
Oh no!
We sold you the defective one. That's what it is.
You don't want to be last. That's for sure.
I should have thought of this. It was actually Nick who figured this one out. But the dual hose system, you hook up to it via a Schrader valve, right? So that's the bottleneck because there's that Schrader valve that hooks up into the hose system. The max you're going to get is 3 psi, and that thing can do more than double that in its output. I was just wasting capability on it. I have now put up my Indeflate for sale because I don't really need it anymore. Seeing how easy it was for Demetre just go around and fill up all 4 tires individually, it's like I don't even need it. And I already have Ston deflators, and I also have the ARB one. If I want to set something other than my usual 20, I could just use the ARB one that pulls
Deflator,
out the valve cord.
They're very popular, the inflation systems, right? Kind of a fancy versions of air down 4 tires all at once or do those things. And I don't know, maybe I'm old school or what, but I just find it that if you have a 32, 33, even up to 35-inch tire and you're using air between compressor, filling up each tire one at a time is still really fast. I don't know, sometimes people will spend quite a bit of time untangling all the hoses and connecting them one by one to valves. And then, you air up faster once you hook it up, but there's a prep work required. So, I don't know, in the end, I always feel like they're not that much more convenient or faster, unless you had some giant tires, and then you kind of makes up for it. But for a regular size tire, overlanding size tire, I think strong compressor and doing them one by one is as simple as it gets.
Yeah, I have a low hose tolerance too, so
right, it never comes out the same way you put it away, right? It always comes out just jumbled mess.
And you're like trying to stuff it, you're like and then eventually you just kind of give up and stuff. You're like, I'll figure it out later, and
yep, same.
Just throw it in the back.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, well, thank you so much for going through that with me because I was curious about that, and I'm glad to learn that we can do one at a time. It's not that bad, but if it's faster, man, I can't wait to be in competition. We should do that.
But it feels good if you're faster than someone, for sure. And if it's raining, which it always does here, you don't want to be out there taking your time with the air ups. You kind of want to do it real quick and jump back into the warm vehicle.
Right? All right. Well, I'm ready for the main topic here because I am chomping at the bit to hear about your overland trip to the Capitol Reef Backcountry Trail in Utah. I've had to wait a couple weeks now, so I am ready to hear all the things that went down, the good, the bad, the ugly. So let's start with the good. What were like the best things about this trip?
Well, wanted to thank Garrick for organizing and inviting me. First of all, it gave me plenty of in advance notice. I think you organized it maybe even a year in advance, which
I think I had the calendar like
a year ago. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to put that on my calendar. Whatever comes up, I'll work around it. So that was really nice. And also to the planning portion, right? We had shared docs, so everything was very clear on what was happening. Usually through our Facebook group, I often have to organize trips, and it was nice to go on someone else's trip where everything was already thought of and
I know that
organized.
feeling very
It
well.
was
Yeah.
very nice. Just show up,
Like, oh, I'm just along for the ride. This is great.
just show up and follow the leader. It was great. It was great.
Awesome.
Yeah, in terms of the route itself, while I have been to Capitol Reef before, it was a hiking trip that I did there. And obviously, you can only cover so much mileage when you're hiking. So I explored just a tiny bit of the park, did several hikes, and that was already amazing and breathtaking. And I wanted to go back. So this trip, it felt like we did the whole round trip of the park, starting from the north, going southwest, and then looping around southeast, northeast, and then back north. You explored every portion of the park. And while often people think, oh, Utah is just red rocks, each day felt so different from one another that I think all of us were just awestruck. Day one was just this different colored rocks, green, red, maroon, blue, all kinds of colors. Day two, we saw more of a tall formations jutting out with some amazing vistas. Day three, we were kind of a little bit in sand dune desert, some technical trails through your typical sandstone canyons. Every day was different, and just the variety of views and surface that you were driving on was amazing.
Shannon described it as like being in Mario Kart, where you have different levels.
Oh.
So we'd be like in one area that had this whole biome feel about it. Then you just, I don't know, go over a crest and it'd be like totally different feel. And I'm like, okay, we're at a different course now.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. No, it was
Wow.
way more diverse than I would have thought. We always try to get away from people when you go on these long trips, right? You want to find a destination that's not busy and not that popular, and this was that. I don't think, Garrick reminded me, outside of campsites, I don't think when we were doing trails we ever saw a vehicle coming the opposite way. It always felt like it was just us going on the trail. And in the evening, when we would do a dispersed camp or go to a campsite, that's when we would see other people.
Yeah, there'd be just a few. Honestly, like we kept seeing the same few people. And so it really felt like there was just like 12 of us, this huge square mileage radius that was just, we just kept running into each other and that was it because that's all there was out there.
Yep.
Garrick's trips are usually like that. He will take you on a trip and you'll hardly see anyone. I'm not sure how he works that out, but that was also the Nevada trip too. We were driving for days, didn't see anyone. It's actually quite worrisome. We were like, is anyone going to save us if there's an issue? Because there's just no one around.
He wants to get away from everything.
I mean, it kind of, I think I am drawn to those. There were many options as far as routes in Utah, and this one was described as one of the ones where you'd really be out there and you wouldn't see a lot of people. And I was like, sold.
Right.
I
Yeah, we all had to pack extra gas and actually use it. Oftentimes you pack extra gas just for the psychological reasons, right? So you feel safe. But this time we had to actually use it, and it definitely was needed.
Wait, so tell me about gas. Were you able to get it at where you wanted it, or you just knew that you were going to have long stretches where you needed gas?
There is a town at the beginning of the park entrance on the north side where you can resupply, right? But the thing is, once you get into the park, you're 30, 40 miles into the desert. We wanted to get in the park and stay away from the main road. So with that, you kind of have to pack gas because you're only getting low teens in fuel mileage. You're gaining elevation, dropping elevation. Even the base elevation of the park is feels like maybe 5,500 feet. So you're consuming more gas. And while you can stop, turn around, go to town and resupply, that adds at least several hours of drive going there and coming back. So you probably, you probably don't want to do that every 2 days, just driving into town, spending 4 hours there and back on dirt roads. You kind of want to stay on track and keep exploring.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of how this is different than a BDR. That's a good way to point it out, because BDR, it's like you do these sections, but every section starts at a town and ends at a town, right? So you're guaranteed fuel stops. With this one, the beginning and very end of the whole route has fuel stops, but then in between you have to route out a bit and come back. So it's absolutely not something you want to do unless you have to do. Yeah, that's a good observation.
Yeah, and you want to have that extra gas just because of yeah, you want to keep going on the route, but also we were truly exploring, right? If we were seeing an offshoot or this new trail that we wanted to go down, and you don't know how long that trail is, you want to have that reserve fuel capacity so that you don't feel like, oh, I can't check this trail out because I'm going to run out of gas. You want to have that extra so you can truly check every little overlook and every little road that you come upon.
Was there anything else like gas that you really had to have for this trip that was necessary?
I'd say water was also almost as limited as
Yep.
gas. In the Pacific Northwest, there's usually a lot of like refill opportunities just from natural sources.
Right.
And you don't really have that down here. There is like the Fremont River. That's the only real like natural water source that was on the map. We also stayed at a creek that fed into the Fremont River at one of our campsites. So a lot of us did pull water from that, but that was kind of the only opportunity other than I think some of us filled up at the visitor center because they did have a bottle fill at the visitor center for Capitol Reef.
Yep.
You said there was also going to be Mud River too, right? Was there
Yeah,
mud in the river?
It was pretty muddy looking. I don't think you want to kill your filter with that. I don't think it'd be worth it. It was also on day one too, so like we were still pretty stored up pretty well at that point.
Yeah, fuel was a big one for sure because it was very hot and very dry, and you're at high elevation, so you really get dehydrated
Water, you mean?
very easy. Especially Garrick had very nicely sprinkled little hikes here and there, so it doesn't feel like we're sitting in the car 10 hours a day. In the morning, we would do a little short hike, maybe a mile long or 2 miles long round trip. And then maybe in the afternoon, or not afternoon, I guess late afternoon when the sun was not its zenith, do another little hike. So as you do those, you get surprisingly dehydrated, right? 1 mile hike in Pacific Northwest, you're like, I don't even need my water bottle. I'm just going to quickly knock this out. Over there, you do need your water bottle. You don't have much shade, and it's
dry.
It's hot and dry. Yep.
Well, after we did our first hike to the Wild Horse Window, I pulled off my backpack and I was like, oh, I have a leak or something. And then I was like, no, I don't have a leak. That's just sweat.
You get drenched.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Yep. No, you're feeling it.
All right. Well, tell me more. What are some gems? Why should people go to Capitol Reef Backcountry Trail?
I think it is very underrated park, and I think it's also very, I don't know if very unusual, but it is relatively unusual to have a national park that has this many dirt 4x4 type roads. Usually national parks either reserve those roads for their own use or it's paved scenic drives, right? Whereas here, there is a sort of a scenic drive, but it's just one road that leads into the middle of the park and then doesn't really go anywhere. So if you truly want to explore Capitol Reef, you go on dirt and there's tons of roads you could be on for days on end. So I think that's really amazing because scenery, like I said, changes every day. So you don't feel like you're seeing the same thing day after day. Every day you can make a different adventure. You got some mountains there, which unfortunately I had to miss on the last day. But I think there are mountains going up above 9,000 feet of elevation. You might find some snow.
11,000.
11,000.
Actually.
Wow.
If you go all the way to the top of Henry Mountains, yeah, it goes up to 11,000.
That's amazing, right? It's all in one place. You have 11,000 feet tall mountains with snow in late May, early June. And then you have this extremely hot desert environment at 4,000 or 5,000 feet of elevation. And all the geologic wonders you can think of, massive tabletop mountains, the water pocket fold, which is the big feature of the park. It just feels like a fountain of rock coming out of the Earth's crust. You have amazing sandstones with holes and arches in them. So there's just a lot to see, and some trails were pretty fun. We didn't encounter any truly technical trails where you had to scratch up your underside and be on sliders, but there were places where Forlow was definitely helpful.
I think I wanted to just focus a little bit on what you were mentioning about how it's a national park, but it has more challenging roads than your average national park. And a couple of examples of that were, for one, on our very first day, we were heading into the park and it had a couple little spots where you're going over some pretty minor rock faces that, I don't know, like they may have had 6 inches of a step, if that, in spots. But also, if you just chose your line, it would be like nothing, right? Well, we came up across this, it was like 2 sons and their dad. Their dad was in the car, and the 2 sons were like standing outside the car, like looking at this rock in the road. And
Okay.
I could tell right away that there was like, okay, they're just like, they're trying to figure out how to do it. And it was pretty obvious that they were like in a rental too.
Oh gosh.
Classic.
What did they rent? What?
It was just some like
Nissan
little
Rogue,
crossover.
I think it was.
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been a Rogue, or even smaller than a Rogue.
Okay.
But it was something that could definitely do with what they were worried about. But like we had seen them for a while as we were coming up too, so they were like thinking about this, like really trying to figure out what to do.
Okay.
And I like pulled over and I told everybody, I was like, "Hey, this is what's going on." To go talk to him. And then I walk up and I just look at it. And I'm like, "Okay." And I take my hands and just go like, "You can just straddle right here." Just like 2 seconds, and then he like does it, and I was direct him a little, and then like they must have. My theory is that they must have gone up it and had some struggle going up it, and then decided that okay, this is bad. We need to go back
for
where
sure.
we came
Yeah,
from.
definitely.
Yeah. So then when they came back to that same obstacle, they're like, okay, oh gosh, what are we gonna? How are we gonna make this happen? But it was funny though, because once the dad got past that rock face, he just like, kept driving down the hill, and his sons had to run after him.
I think they were so stressed that him, instead of stopping and saying, "Okay, we made it through the hard part. Okay, sons, jump in. We're not gonna keep doing this." He just took off. I think he was so stressed with this rental that he's like, "I'm out of here. This is too much." And sons kept running after his car. It was hilarious to see.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and of course they add on top of it. As I was talking to these guys, my horn just starts going, and then I look and Ryder's just standing on the.
Oh
horn.
my god.
That dog.
He's like, "You're taking way too long. Come back."
I was like, that probably didn't help the stress level of the dad either.
It was a classic scene, though. You got to national park. You take the paved road, and then paved road ends and turns into dirt. And if you have the right vehicle, you can continue. But if you don't, you probably should stop. And yeah, this vehicle could have made up that obstacle if you selected the right setting, first gear, you modulated your line and gas pedal. I'm sure it would have gone up. But that was an entrance to, I don't know, 40, 50 mile long track that goes through the park and has even harder sections. So it's one of those things. I always admire the bravery of people in rental cars who are like, you know what, I'm going to go on this road and see what happens with just probably no supplies, basic tires, all that stuff. Whereas we were fully prepared and supplied and ready to do it. So I don't know, commendable in a way, but also on the other hand, I'm like, do you know what you're doing?
Well, there's another example too at the end of the cathedral loop, and it's literally part of the cathedral loop, right? This is like one of the most well-known parts of Capitol Reef, but it literally has a pretty deep water crossing as part of that loop. And it's when you cross the Fremont River. And I don't know, like it was like what, maybe 18 inches. It's not like an insane deep one, but if you're in a regular car, that's very deep, right? And it was funny because as I rolled up to it, I didn't know what to expect. And then I saw there was like all these other cars on the other side. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna have to wait for these people to cross. But then they just started like waving me in. So I was like, okay, I guess they're not crossing. So then I went through it, and then they're all like cheering and jumping and going, woo. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting to have cheerleaders for this crossing.
Did they just want you to go first, or they were already across and they were trying to get you to come across?
Demetre was talking to them, so Demetre can tell you more about the people.
They didn't know how deep it was, and also it was difficult to see that it led to a road. So it was not your typical straight river crossing. You had to.
Oh, so these people hadn't crossed yet because it made it sound like they were on the other side of the river waiting for you and waving you
they were on
forward.
the highway side. Yeah, they were like just off the highway at that point.
They were at the beginning of the trail, opposing to us. We were about to finish it. They were about to come on the trail. But
got it.
As soon as you get on this road and there's a river crossing, that's kind of like, oh, am I in the right spot? So I think they were being cautious, rightfully so, right? You don't want to just
rightfully
big scary signs that said impassable for most vehicles, right? It's like
my gosh,
big scary signs, yeah.
But they were in modified 4Runner and lifted Tacoma, and they could definitely have, shouldn't have been an issue. But they were being cautious, and from their side, you couldn't really see where the trail was going because you had to go into the river, make a right turn, keep going maybe 30 feet, and then make a left turn
going up or
and
down
get up
river.
on the trail.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a little hesitation on their front. But funny thing, Garrick was mentioning people in ill-prepared vehicles. As we did the river crossing, I was the last guy to cross, and the guy going opposite way in a little crossover, GM crossover, like not Acadia, but even smaller, like trail tracks, whatever those tiny crossovers that can't really do off-road, right? He really wants to do it. He's like, so how did it feel, man? Can I go through this? And I look at his car and I'm like, I don't think you should go through it. And he's like, are you sure? Like, why? It's like deep or what? I'm like,
There were some big rocks in there. I could feel them. I was just driving over. It wasn't like a gravel base. It was like straight up river rocks underneath there.
I just, again, like people have, I don't know, some people are brave. I would not want to go through that with a crossover because it's just shale and soft material underneath. And why it's not a deep crossing that gets over your hood and makes you look like a hero. The material underneath water is still pretty soft and you can easily get bogged down with the wrong vehicle.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really bad day if things go wrong for sure. So you don't want to mess around. Plus, most of us have diff breeders set up on our rigs. We're built for this scenario, but
Exactly.
who knows what the little rental has for that.
Oh my gosh. Well, good on you, Garrick, for being the guinea pig. For showing everybody how to do it.
Well, the funny thing is, usually I always want to check water crossings first just to make sure.
Mhm.
But earlier on that trip, we had crossed Mud Creek, and Mud Creek was like 6 inches deep or something like that. But I was also, it's called Mud Creek. I was like, well, okay, I don't know what kind of base this is. So I was like getting out to check it. I was like, hey, does anybody have a stick? And then somebody had a broom or something. But suddenly Doug just kind of rolls around and then just drives over it. And he's like, yeah, it's nothing. I was like, okay, that's more useful. The screw it guy.
Totally pulled
Doug is that person.
Yeah,
totally
exactly.
pulled a big truck move. A guy in a big truck moves like, this ain't nothing. I'm going through it. And obviously his truck is so tall. Yeah, it was nothing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It was.
That sounds like a good time. And there were other people there around on the trail. Was it cool to hang out with them camping, or were they rowdy, or what was it like?
Really saw people at one campsite. So when you're in the national park, you can't just disperse camp. You can only camp in designated campgrounds in national parks.
Okay.
So that was the only time we ever really camped near anybody else other than our hip camp going up and down. But with that one, it was Cedar Mesa, and it wasn't a huge campsite. I think they had 6 different campsites there. But for the most part, they're pretty cool people there.
We're taking a break. It's Melody jumping in to say we're hanging out on Instagram if you want to keep up with the overland nonsense. And if you're on Apple, Amazon Music, or Spotify, go ahead and download the episode so you don't lose us. All right, back to it.
I slept through this, but I heard that one of the people came in at 1 a.m. at night. I'll let you tell the story, Demetre, because you were actually woke up for it.
Yeah, I do love, I don't know, it's one of those things. I do love meeting people at campsites, but then again, more often than not, they tend to be noisy ones who start generators at 2 a.m. So it's one of those things. We didn't have a generator guy this time around. We had the gentleman from Arizona who had son in Lacey, and he had this kind of a cool Sprinter-based RV thingy that looked kind of off-roadish. It was not just a Sprinter van, but it looked like a cool vehicle. And he was just doing big tour with national parks. So he was nice and very talkative. But then after we all sort of about to retreat for the night and went to sleep at 12 a.m., I got awakened what I thought was like a diesel truck, not a regular diesel truck, but ones that are deleted in all the 7.3 Ford, just clanking, making a ruckus.
Like straight pipes, yeah.
Yeah, straight pipes. And they kept idling near our tents. And I was just like, what's going on? I thought it was maybe a park ranger cleaning out garbage. But I'm like, why are they doing this at 2 a.m.?
Weird hours.
Weird hours. Yeah. But yeah, next morning we find out it was actually guy from Washington. Like, what are the chances, right? We're in this remote
Washington. Always ruining things. Yep.
Both guests are from Washington. But yeah, this guy in a tuned Subaru with big, fart can exhaust on it. So as he pulled in, he was with his daughter, which was kind of sweet. They were camping together.
Very young daughter, yeah.
But I guess maybe it was, we were thinking maybe it was cold at night or something. So he kept his his Subaru idling while he was setting the tent up. But it woke us all up except Garrick, I guess, because it was just so loud and so unexpected at 2 a.m. in this kind of a remote campsite.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys were a lot closer to it as well. I was like at the very end of the campground, so that probably helped me out a bit. But apparently I'm also a deep sleeper because there's a lot of other stuff that happened on this trip while we were sleeping that I just did not wake up to. So who knows?
Yeah.
That wasn't the only funny person that we ran into, though. We were in the Cathedral Valley area, and it has this beautiful overlook. And to get to the overlook, you have to turn off the main road, and then there's a little gravel road that'll take you to a trailhead. And the trailhead is, I don't know, it's like hop, skip, a jump until you're actually on top of the overlook. But as we were coming up, I was like, is this thing full? Because there was this yellow Jeep that was parked right in the way of the entrance to the road that'll take you to the trailhead. I was like, there's no way that it's backed up like this, because we were there on a Tuesday, right? So I was like, there's no way this is backed away out of here.
No way.
Yeah. So we roll past this Jeep, there's nobody in it, and then we can kind of just barely skirt around it because it was like parked so dumb that it was like blocking the entrance, but we were able to skirt around it. And then as we're driving down, we see the Jeep girls that were driving.
The Jeep girls. Yep.
Yeah. They just, for some reason, parked there thinking it was normal, and then didn't even walk to the overlook. They just went to this field area, which they also could have driven to and parked in. But no, this was the plan. Yeah.
It was a very Jeep moment, because they were, I don't know how to describe it. They were dressed like Jeep girls. They wore flannel shirts with kind of like utility vests, very like, dressed as outdoorsy as you can dress, but not for Utah, maybe more for mountain regions, with kind of like boots. And they were definitely vibing with the outdoors of it. But why they left their Jeep, it looked like an abandoned Jeep on the road, just like stopped in the middle of it. And yeah, they were in the field, kind of, I don't know if they were like running through it or just, I don't know, having the Thelma and Louise moment, because it was that type of an overlook. It overlooks this big open space. And they had their yellow Jeep, and they were just having the time.
They were just in their own world.
Yeah, they thought no
living
one
their
was
best
around.
life.
But here we go, 5 overlanders with our fully loaded vehicle passing by.
Nice. Well, it sounds like pretty easy terrain if you're coming up against crossovers, trying to get across rivers. Was there any other challenging terrain on this trip?
Yeah, it's really weird because I think you could do most of the main route in 2-wheel drive. I think there's one spot in the very last day where I kind of needed to, if I chose on a different line, I wouldn't have needed 4-wheel drive, but I got a point where I was just throwing my tires one in the air, so I had to turn on my 4-wheel drive so I could actually get traction. But
Jörg, you mean day one, or you mean the full route? Because I would be surprised if you made it through that river crossing on some of the rocks in 2-wheel drive, man. Unless you were a very dedicated driver who was just like, I'm making up or else.
Not sure if I turned on my 4-wheel drive for that. I'm not sure. That's actually a good question.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right.
Like, you definitely need it. Well, you didn't definitely need it, but it helped in that we went to an overlook that had actually pretty technical terrain. That was like the most technical of the trip. But anyways, we were kind of used to mostly just being on pretty well-graded gravel roads, and with minor obstacles here and there. There are some offshoots of the main route that OTG has, Overland Trail Guides, that have more technical ratings. So I think the main route was like a 2 or 3 out of 10. And then we wanted to check out this South Draw Wash, because it was like, oh, what we've been doing has been totally easy and chill. We can probably handle this South Draw Wash, which was as a 5 out of 10. And it was like 5 out of 10 by overland ratings. If it was like a trails off road where it's like Jeep ratings, then I'd be like, no, that's going to be too much. But overland ratings out of 5 out of 10, we should definitely be able to handle that. So we get on this route, and immediately there's like all these signs that say not suitable for vehicles over 50 inches in width, which is like all of us
by a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's basically quads is what it's saying. It's like anything bigger shouldn't be on it. But this is on the official route for Overland Trail Guides, which is really weird. But I was looking at it, I was like, well, okay, there's a section it goes through, and then there's a split. And at the split, the road to the right still says that 50 inches only, but the one to the left doesn't have that. So I was like, well, maybe it's just for that one little bit, and then you're fine. You just need to go to the left road. So I went ahead scouting on that, and it just got worse. It got to this one point where it had this insane V-notch that was like super narrow. And so like, for me, I would have needed spotters, and I would have had to, you just basically straddle the deep V-notch, which is a good 4 feet deep. And we have a photo with Doug standing in it. But at that point, I was like, wait a second, there's no way the full size are going to do this.
Yeah. It escalated, escalated pretty quickly. In the entrance, you had some rocky section. which you could navigate through. There was some lines you could choose without too much worry. But then when Doug made it up with his long bed GMC Sierra, he's lifted and has 35s, but it was very tight. He had to get over the big rocks versus avoiding them. And I was already like, if it's like that in the first 50 feet, it's
Yeah, he
probably.
was taking out tree limbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Whoa.
it was like a 30-mile offshoot of this off-road trail. So this is going to take us like all day if it's going to be like this
But yeah,
entire
we were all
time.
very surprised that this is part of the main route, because there's no way your typical overland vehicle, well, again, when there's a will, there's a way, but it's not a route you would do if you were just overlanding your way through the national park. That seemed like a 4x4 technical trail where you're getting stuck, maybe winching, and definitely want to spend the whole day at.
Yeah. And like for comparison, we did this one called Wolverine Bench, which was actually another offshoot that was awesome, and I highly recommend it. And Wolverine Bench had a rating of 3 out of 5. And I never went into four-wheel drive on Wolverine Bench or Horse Canyon at all. Those are amazing, but they weren't terribly technical. So for that to be a 3, where you're not even going to four-wheel drive, and then to this other trail being a 5, it's just like it escalated so quickly that
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Like I don't know if something's off or what. I looked around. There wasn't really any other alternate route you could take. It wasn't like, oh, we're just on the wrong side trail. Like I don't really understand. So it's kind of a mystery to me, and I want to find out from the creator like what's going on with that.
Yeah, it was very unusual. We had to divert and find alternative route and keep going. But I guess you never know, and it's good thing that we turned around, because it's easy to blindly follow a map, right? Be like, oh, this is the route, and also that highlighted it's very important to download the area, not just the route, which I know all of us usually do. Download the route in the GPX in your Onyx or Gaia, but then I like to download the area itself, even in low resolution.
Exactly.
So you can, if the route is no longer passable or whatnot, you can find alternatives. Yeah, definitely important.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
a great tip. But Demetre, I saw on social media after the trip was over that you were still on the trip and that you were rock crawling by yourself. What happened?
Well, the trip was amazing. I definitely scratched my overland camping itch. And then because I was already in Utah and not too far from Moab, I thought to myself, how can I be here and not go to Moab and hit some trails, right? So on
fair.
Friday, which was the 5th day of our, well, no, actually, technically 7th day of our trip, because it took 2 days to get down there, I split up with the group in the morning and headed over to Moab, Utah to run several off-road trails, 4x4 trails. One of them, Top of the World, has been on my bucket list for a long time. And if there was one thing I wanted to do in Moab, was to do Top of the World, which is, it's 6 out of 10 based on Jeep Trail, Moab Trails off-road ratings.
Okay.
And if you do the optional section up top, it's actually 7 or 8 out of 10. I didn't do that, but it was pretty good challenge for my vehicle, especially by myself, and also full gear in the back. I was definitely pretty heavy.
Oh, you were way heavy. We weighed ourselves on the way down.
Oh.
Yeah, I was a chunky boy after Doug's truck. Yeah, we all went to scales because I love doing that, because it helps you know if you're within your payload and GWR, but also just for fun, right? Comparing. And my Land Rover LR4, which is a heavy vehicle as is, it's 5,700 pounds from the factory. I was at
Dang, that is heavy.
7,300 with me in it. So take around 225 pounds. That's over 7,000 pounds. So pretty much at max capacity in terms of payload, with all the overlanding gear and steel bumper and sliders and all that. So it adds up quick. And yeah, that definitely didn't help on the trail. But again, it's one of those things, right? You make your vehicle heavier, but the sliders and the steel bumpers took a beating on that trail. The amount of scratches I got, I was looking at it the other day, and I'm like, I'm going to have to take a weekend and just touch it all up, or it's going to start rusting. But again, amazing trails in Moab. top of the world is this one of the most scenic trails you can do. It's relentless challenge going up. You have these big ledges, V notches, just rocks to crawl up. And then in the end, after 4 hours of crawling rocks, you suddenly get on top of this mesa and you're overlooking huge 360-degree valley around you. And there's a famous spot there where you can pull your vehicle up on this rock that juts out and take a picture of it from far away, and it looks like you're truly at the top of the world. It's
Whoa.
very highly recommended trail. Definitely a lot of fun.
I don't recommend doing it without a spotter like you did. That's very impressive.
Yeah.
Yep. It was definitely risky. I had to get out multiple times, check myself, get back in, adjust. Yeah.
Wow.
Self-spot, yep.
Yep. Actually, that makes me, now that you said it, Garrick, I'm sure there's a business idea to be kind of an entrepreneurial thing to be had, like a spotting device for off-roaders when you're wheeling solo.
At this point, you might as well just use drones, right? Do you have the follow you drones anyways? Just have the drone point at your rig and just feed it into your camera. Boom.
Oh, that would be sick. That would be so much like a video game.
Right, yeah. Just playing the video game I was playing earlier today.
Yeah, you could use a drone as long as you don't smash it to the side of a rock.
Oh, there's a reference.
Uh-oh, it sounds like something happened. What happened?
Yeah, I think it was like our day 4, which was my favorite day of the trip. There is this. Do you remember what it was called? It was like
Bird Trail Switchbacks.
Yeah. Where you go from below the water pocket fold and you take these awesome switchbacks all the way up to the top of it. And then you have this amazing view from up there. So we had stopped at the top of the switchbacks and we were kind of hanging out and taking photos. And then Doug got his big fancy drone out and it was flying around. And then I guess it has a sport mode. So he was doing some sport mode shenanigans.
Wait, you should give the context here, Garrick, because it was kind of a competitive environment emerged over that day. We were talking about drones, and I was the only guy out of 5 vehicles without a drone. Everyone else had drones, and they were saying, "Oh, mine is this type, mine is that type, mine's faster, mine's this, mine's that."
You weren't the only one at the end of it without a drone.
That's for sure. So I think we were all impressed with this little drone. People had Mavic Minis and these things, and I was just like, "Oh my god, these things are so cool!" But then Doug had the Big Daddy drone. There's some sort of a, I'm not techie, so I don't know, but very.
I think it's Mavic 4, top of the line, has every feature that DJI can come up with.
That thing was impressive. It's super fast, this big thing. And so on this clearing where we went up, he got that thing out, set it up.
Yes, was it you and Nick that were like standing, looking off? Yeah, like looking over, had this really cool view. And then Doug's framing in his mind was he was going to take the drone and kind of go at them and then fly up over their heads, right? So it's like kind of going at their faces and then fly up over their heads. Well, any drone operator knows that you'll get the sticks wrong sometimes. So he hit the wrong stick, and instead of it going up, it went down into the rock that they were standing on.
And it's
just head on slam into it.
It was horrible to see it because that thing is like, it makes a lot of noise. It goes very fast and it's large. So when it hit at high speed, it felt like a small plane crashed into the side of the cliff. It was loud, and we were just, I don't know, immediate regret, because when you can tell something's really expensive without even knowing how much it costs, and then you see it break apart in front of your eyes, we were like, oh no. I mean, it held up surprisingly well. I don't know.
It looks repairable.
It looks repairable,
yeah. A couple plastic pieces fell off, and then a couple of wires were disconnected. It looked way better than I expected based off of what it sounded like when it crunched.
For sure. Yeah.
Oh boy.
But yeah, that was probably our most expensive fail of the trip.
It's so painful.
That was painful.
So speaking about payload earlier, Demetre, when you guys were packing for this and you're trying not to go over your payload of your vehicle, but you want to bring everything in the kitchen sink with you, did everything that you bring, did you use it? Or were there some things that you brought that you didn't need or it just didn't make sense? Because I'm packing right now for a trip. And so if you guys have any tips, that would be great.
Yeah, good question. It was a good trip in terms of knowing obviously what to pack. I used what I brought, but I could have done better job packing them for sure because I think I brought too much food. One of the things which was a great idea is Garrick had to have someone cook dinner for everyone every night. So there was one person responsible for dinner every night. And while I saw that on the original planning document, as I was packing, I totally sort of forgot about that. So I brought a bunch of little small lunch and dinner options for myself. So I did have a fair amount of food with me, and that was definitely an overkill. And then there were certain things that I only used once. So it kind of makes you think, okay, I went on a week long trip, but I only used this once. Does it justify for you to bring that? Or could you have gotten away without using it?
Without using it, yeah.
Yeah. The biggest takeaway was the packing of the food. You obviously pack it in the fridge and that's easy, but non-perishable food, your condiments, cans, spices, all that, it's very noisy if you have them in crates like I did. I like using wooden crates because they're so easy. You just pack them up. But as you're driving for multi-day track and it's all corrugated, it becomes pretty noisy. So one of my takeaways was refrigerated stuff goes through refrigerator. Non-perishables, I need to design a new, maybe a Pelican case or something like that with some padding that I can put all my spices, all my cans, all that stuff in there, close it, and not have to hear about
it. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, another thing that was like food-wise planning for this that was a little different than I've done previously is that I usually do sandwiches for lunches on these trips, but with the heat of the desert, I was really worried about having bread in a plastic bag and that just becoming a mold factory immediately. So this time around, I actually did wraps, which is just tortillas, and that worked really well because tortillas are way more robust in that sense. And it's just as easy to make a wrap as it is to make a sandwich. So I was really happy with that decision. And I might just do it from now on anyways, even when I'm not worried about mold because it was pretty easy.
Okay. That's a great way to go.
Yeah, the food was an interesting one. Another thing is it depends what your expectations are, right? For example, on this trip, because we were in the desert and it was pretty windy most of the time, you couldn't really make elaborate lunch during the daytime or even maybe in the morning. The risk of dust being thrown at you and wind picking up was too high. So oftentimes our lunches were very quick. I don't know, quick sandwich, quick wrap, just get that done before wind ruins your lunch. Whereas in the evenings, it was relatively quiet, so you could do more of a nice dinner. I don't know if every desert can be like that. I'm sure it can. You kind of want to have some simple options and then some complicated options and adjust based on the conditions for cooking.
Yeah, it's always good to have snacks. If you want a no prepare, no cook lunch, you can just snack on stuff too. Demetre learned that when we stop for lunch, to not ask me a bunch of questions, just let me go eat my lunch first.
Gary got angry at one point, for sure.
I was so hungry. I was just ready to go make my lunch, and Demetre was asking me questions about miles and all this stuff. I was like, Demetre's making me do work. I just want to go eat. I'll figure this stuff later. Making me homework.
Earlier got upset. I was like, should I cook a long lunch or short lunch? Because I was craving these quesadillas. I kept wanting to cook quesadillas, but there was never enough time to do it because it was either windy or we were about to go or it was raining. So can I finally make my quesadillas? Do we have time?
It's very ambitious to like cook for lunch.
It is.
That was a Wednesday, so it actually worked out okay because Wednesday was kind of a reset day for us. That's where we attempted to do salt row wash and then had to come back. And then Shannon actually didn't even attempt salt row wash. He decided just that Wednesday was going to be his sort of relaxed day. And we actually did find a really nice campsite that had a creek. It was called Pleasant Creek, and it was pleasant.
Very pleasant.
And it was actually decently well protected. The part where we were parked was kind of windy, but as soon as you went to the creek, there was like hardly any wind at all, which is a big factor when you're down there is avoiding the wind at campsites. Kind of a constant need when you're out there.
Yeah.
And then for dinner, you guys didn't find that it was too windy to cook?
So for my night, I had the second night, and it was good because we found a nice protected area. It was like kind of inset in rocks. Actually, that was my favorite campsite of the trip.
That was a
just
really good one.
cool.
Yeah.
Did you have to reserve it, or you found it?
We did dispersed, except for the one Cedar Mesa, which was in the national park, and you have to be in a formal ones for that.
Yeah, the route kind of skirts national park boundary multiple times based on where you end up camping. You can be in the park or you can be outside of the park, but if you're in the park, it has to be an established campsite. So we stayed outside of the park for camping. But yeah, it felt like there were a good amount of camp options. There were a couple of nights where we had to scout maybe 2 or 3 spots and choose the best, but I thought every night we had a really good camp spot.
I think, God, did we even have a bad campsite?
No, I don't think so.
We really did.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Just the Subaru at 1 a.m.
Just the Subaru with loud exhaust. Yeah, that's the only one. But Melody, to finish up your question about the payload and packing, the big one was the shower situation.
Okay.
Carrying enough water for a shower adds a lot of weight, and it's when you're out there for 9 days, obviously you want to take at least 2 or 3 showers. So
at least
it gets because exactly. That's if you're like stretching it, and
I'm more of a dirt bag than you guys. I think I could probably get by with 1 shower.
Yeah, I
my God, with that much
I got by with 0 on this trip.
I don't even know.
No, I
did feel gross.
Garrett did not have shower for 7 days. I don't know how he did. Literally,
Garrett also doesn't have passengers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
I mean, I do have 1 passenger. He's stinkier than me. Anyway,
yeah, Ryder is probably in heaven.
I overpacked water because I like my showers, and after being in the desert, I just feel sand on my body, and I had 3 showers during the trip, or maybe even 4, and just that took so much water because Garrick said you can't just refill at the beginning of every day. You kind of have to pack it, and I had 15 gallons of water with me, and that definitely is heavy, and
that's a lot.
Just sloshing around. It's
right.
Yeah, that's a tough part when you're in the hot environment. You either choose to be dirty or you have to give up payload for bringing all that water in.
So I think in this case, would you have rather had water?
Well, the creek that we found was so nice that I could have probably used that water for one of the showers for sure. It was not deep enough to get in it and actually wash yourself, but I don't know, the water seemed nice and relatively clean, so I could have quickly used that water for a quick shower. But yeah, I would have brought less water, but also I need to figure out a container for it that doesn't make a lot of sound, because again, as you're being bounced around all day long, that water's sloshing and it drives me crazy. I don't like creaks and sounds in the vehicle other than music, so it's tough to do that.
Right.
So I do soft bags. Yeah, soft bags are the trick for that.
Soft bags,
sure.
yeah. Gary had a soft bag for his gas as well, and they seem to work pretty well. I have not actually considered having a soft bag before for water or the gas, but they're packable. And
there's ways to do it wrong. I did it wrong in our Canada trip. There's like a little seal they had to put in there, and I forgot about the seal, and then it was like leaking down all the side of my
vehicle
rig as I was filling it up. But yeah, no, it's pretty good though, for the most part. One thing that I did change for my setup after this related to showers is that I ordered some wilderness wipes from Sea to Summit, but there's all kinds of shower wipes you can buy. And I think just having something you can wipe yourself down would help a lot. Yeah, but I didn't really feel dirty until the last day. It was like the Saturday. It was when we were driving back, and some of us went and ate at restaurants. And it was when I walked into a restaurant, I was like, ooh. I feel like
everyone walked
I don't belong here.
Or did they
I don't know. Like nobody was reacting, but I could just sort of like feel how grungy I was, and I was like, okay, now that I'm back in the real world in public, now I feel my filth.
Yep, you get used to it.
Yeah. For the females out there are wipes that you can get at pretty much any grocery store that's pH balanced. So for the ladies, we tend to have wipes for that kind of area. And then, I don't know, I feel like wipes can give you maybe a day, but when it's super dusty like that, sometimes you just need like a 1-minute shower to just kind of get all of that off.
Yeah.
It's tough when you're in the desert, though. I mean,
That's
you're
Right.
carrying it like Demetre said, or you're coming up with alternate solutions. I know that there's the geyser system, which I believe is supposed to be super water efficient. So it's still water that it's using, but you might use at most a gallon to take a shower. So that might be a good compromise solution.
Yeah.
That's kind of my compromise is I take a super short shower.
Short showers. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's the way to do it. But yeah, wipes help. But you were talking about for females, but also I think wipes work much better if you don't have a lot of body hair. It can wipe you down really well. But if you're on the hairy side, yeah, wipes not getting those sand grains out of your hairs. Really, you need water.
No, I haven't thought about that. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, on that note, we're going to be wrapping up this episode. Are there any closing thoughts from anybody?
Demetre, why don't you close this up?
Yeah, for closing thoughts, I think with any trip, what I've learned is that the biggest thing is to try to temper expectations or not have expectations, which is hard to do because you get excited, you pack your vehicle, you're pumped, and all that's good. But when you're going out there and doing multi-day, true sort of wilderness type of expedition, you're not going to know how every day is going to end. You don't know where you're going to camp. You don't know what you're going to do. You don't know what you're going to see. So you don't want to have necessarily overly heightened expectations every day. Sometimes you see cool stuff. Sometimes you get to the trail or you can't even do it. You have to turn around. Other days it might be too windy and it might break your awning from your vehicle and you can't even have lunch. On other days, it might be perfect and you might be camping next to a creek that cools you down and freshens you up. So, I don't know, you kind of have to be open-minded when you're going on multi-day trips into the areas like we went. So, that would be sort of my takeaway and recommendation for people who are trying to do, say, 5+ day, relatively remote overland trip.
They're not all going to be bangers. I was really worried because our first 2 days were so awesome. I was like, oh no, we front loaded how awesome this trip
Right.
is, and we're not going to be able to match it. And then day 3 was kind of a reset day for us. That was kind of coming true in my brain. But then day 4 was like
Beautiful.
my favorite day, at least. So I was like, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Just take it as it comes. Yeah. So good thought indeed.
Cool.
Nice.
Well, I think with that, we shall call it a wrap.
If you want to get in touch with us by email, let us know what you think. remotetrailsradio@gmail.com.
RTR, over and out.